the Maokai Hecarim duo that just wasn't able to be avoided by Candy on that Callista.
Yep. Thus far, though, nothing going to change here as far as the pick ban phase is concerned. In fact, very, very similar bans to come down, apart from Lissandra being banned a little bit earlier.
Yeah, so exact same bans coming through as you mentioned.
Yeah, and Kassadin looking to be banned away here as well. Or Royal Club going to hold on to that one. Of course, Cola and Korn both very, very comfortable in that champion. And having a flex pick like that for first pick is beautiful to have. We'll see what does actually happen. Nidalee going to be taken away. So, again, sort of very similar bans. But here's the mix-up. The Hecarim going to get taken away. But that's going to mean the first pick Kassadin to come through from Cola. And I would be very surprised if this isn't locked in.
Yeah, I would be as well. It's just such a good flex pick for the Starhorn Royal Club lineup, as you mentioned. And Hecarim being taken away from Insect. That's a couple of jungle bans thrown his way. No Rengar, no Hecarim. Maybe has to go back to something like a Lee Sin, but it is the Kassadin that is locked in for Cola.
Yeah, we haven't been seeing very much of the Jarvan jungle to come through here. Of course, Dream's going to possibly take away the Lee Sin from Insect, so that opportunity not going to be there for him as well. But Insect, I mean, he's played all sorts of things. I mean, there's Fiddlesticks, Pantheon, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, there certainly is a lot of crazy things that he can definitely bring out in the jungle, so maybe not as limited, but just we haven't seen them use to its greatest effect this season of the LPL, and this time they're looking to pick away that Thresh because it was played extremely well from Zero. That catch on Candy in particular in the bottom lane probably swung the game back in their favor.
Yeah, and M3 had some fantastic games with Love City on that Thresh, so really wanted to pick that one up. Insec looking at a Yasuo, but I'm not sure whether that's going to be the lock-in here for him. See what they do decide to go with. Of course, taking away the Thresh from Zero is a big deal, and Dreams has looked comfortable on this Lee Sin in the past, as Insec looking at a possible Pantheon.
It certainly looks to be that way, but Graves has been locked in, so a very aggressive pickup in the bottom lane for Well, and they might throw this one on its head and give the heavy engaged support to Zero. They do. Leona locked in, and that's a very heavy bully lane.
Yeah, and that's a terrifying bottom lane to go up against here as well, and I think that that was one of the lanes that Callista's very much fear as well, but Candy looking to potentially hop back on that highly contested AD carry pickup, even into what has been a losing lane.
Yeah, it certainly looks to be that way. Dade's also locked in the Narf for his top laner Looper as well, so they're going for a similar lineup this time around. A little bit more catch potential coming out of the Thresh, but
the thing that I really love about this M3 lineup, as far as the changes that they've made, if everything's going to stay the same, it's the fact that Dreams is now on a jungler that can affect the map a whole lot earlier.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be able to get around, maybe even duel out Insect depending on what he's on. Wasn't able to really get into the lanes as much as possible, and Insect was tantalizingly had Ignite Smite for a little bit.
Yeah,
so
he did.
I was hoping for a Shaco.
Oh man, it would have been beautiful.
Of course, he has played it before. Doesn't look like it. Much more standard pick in the Rek'Sai. Korn, what's he going to take? Is it interested to see whether it will be the Kassadin or whether he'll go for something completely different? Ari still is available.
Yeah, Korn could pick that one up. Aurelia is being looked at here, and Korn actually deciding to take that Kassadin into the mid lane, it looks like.
Yeah.
But that's the Fiddlesticks for Insec, and look, I called it.
Yeah, Fiddlesticks jungle has come out. Wow, the prediction.
Yeah, that wasn't actually a serious prediction, ladies and gentlemen. I am as surprised as everyone is because we haven't seen this for a very long time, and we'll see whether Insect can make stuff happen on it because, of course, his sort of early jungle route is a little bit difficult.
Yeah, it certainly is. He can get... Well, he's a very good sustained jungler, but can get picked on in the jungle if he gets invaded. So we'll be interested to see whether that is the route that Dreams takes or whether Insect can just farm to that level 6 where he can affect the map. And in response to that mid lane Kassadin, Dade will get his Azir. And Azir has impressed me when being played by Dade. He had a couple of shaky games when he first introduced it into the Rift, but from then his mechanics have been on point and something that he does perform relatively well on.
Yeah, and, you know, Dade, this is where he's comfortable, is on these highly mechanically intensive champions. and taking that one into Korn's Kassadin here as well. I mean, it's very difficult as a Kassadin to farm against an Azir just because you have to get so close to these creeps.
Yeah, it is very hard to farm as a Kassadin in general in a lot of the lanes. Also, you have to choose whether you push back with your E and max that one out or whether you go for the trade potential of the Q. But in the top lane, Kola will be taking the Aurelia into the Gnar matchup. That seems to favor Aurelia at the moment.
Yeah, and that's sort of been the standard response here, apart from, you know, when Looper gets that counter pick when it becomes sort of Kennen and Annie as the decisions, but hasn't been working out so well. Korn versus Dade, though, that is a matchup that's very much exciting me. And one thing I'm scared about a lot is the M3 bottom lane versus the Royal Club bottom lane in this one. Of course, Well versus Candy, Kalista versus Graves, but it's the Leona Graves combination that just has so much terrifying burst.
Yeah, it certainly is, and they're just so good at, I guess, dictating the pace of a lane as well. They can engage from early on as level 2, then they have the ability at level 6 to really mitigate a lot of Thresher's disengage as well through just throwing out that Solar Flare first up. So definitely look for them to get aggressive, and they really need to take it to the hyper carry.
Yep, well, we'll see if they can as we hop onto the Rift. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, with Royal Club taking on M3 for Game 2 of this set. Of course, Royal Club up 1 with a brilliant finish to the first game. We'll see whether M3 can find their form of yesterday and come back into this matchup. Again, Royal Club 5 men strong heading towards this red side jungle.
Yeah, so once again going for that early invade, looking to get the standard lanes in their favor, and we see very deep vision coming in through Zero. He has been spotted out from Dream, so they know exactly where they are. There's just nothing they can do to stop it.
Yeah, just looking for another lane swap here, of course. If you are Graves Leona, you probably want to find a 2v2 lane because you don't want to waste that incredible control potential. And Candy now hanging out towards this bottom side is going to be able to get that scouting ward of their own. In fact, mirrored wards on both red side jungles of these teams. Looper going to be heading back to base around the corner here as Buccaneer Fiddlesticks not going to find him.
And we see Insect limping all over the map.
Oh yeah, peg-legged Fiddlesticks. It's adorable. I like Bandito myself. Kind of like that Three Amigos type vibe, but that is just me. So ladies and gentlemen, we'll see what Insect's able to do on this champion. Of course, doesn't quite have the early pressure that Dreams has on the Lee Sin, but that Crow Storm can be gigantic. And if Insect is anything, he is fantastic at controlling teamfights and being a menace.
Yeah, he's the best when he's engaging teamfights for his teams and looking very aggressive. So I guess we'll be interested to see exactly how aggressive he goes on the Fiddlesticks. Actually, is the lane swap in the top lane. Will look to just freeze that one out. Leona is a very good roam support, so if they can get Zero an early level 2, look for him to maybe visit the mid lane and put a lot of pressure on Dade. But apart from that, we'll see some nice double jungling around the Rift.
Yeah, and both of these teams actually accepting the lane swap here as well, going for that the double jungle. Everyone, of course. See whether Royal Club do pay for the fact that they don't get the Graves Leona in here. But of course, it is at that level 6 point that matchup really becomes a problem. And that's when you really want to have your duo lanes in the bottom side of the map, because that's when Dragon is going to be in contention.
Yeah, it certainly is. So definitely agree that whilst they've avoided it for now, it still is a threat for M3. So they need to see how well they can avoid it for a long time. And Korn being shoved in at level 2 by Dade, a lot of pressure going on. And this is what happens when lane swaps come through. Mid laners get to push and, I guess, behave very, very strangely unless the supports disappear. That really is a flag that maybe some attention is coming mid lane.
You can see these Sand Soldiers just poking Korn out. That Flask doing some work, though, is still definitely even on the farm. And Dade missing 2 CS just then was just horrible to watch. This Korn just still going to play back. Does pick up that cannon unhindered.
Yeah, so in the end, Dade actually looking a little bit rusty, I guess, and the support has disappeared in the top lane. They need to be careful here. Zero's in.
Yeah, Dade actually took half of his health in harass here as well from Korn. As Insect and Cola are all here. There are 4 members of Royal Club hanging out with Dade here in this mid lane.
But there's 3 members of M3 in the top lane, and well might have been caught out here.
Yeah, the death sentence needs to land here from Love City, or does it? Because, oh, it comes through. Beautiful timing on the creeps. Just want, hey guys, I'm here. What's going on?
But they get the summoner spell, they get the flash most importantly, and they're going again.
Yeah, Dreams actually takes a Shield of Daybreak for it. Zero turning up at exactly the right time. It's going to mean M3 don't find anything. Insect looking here with Cola as well, as Candy's at half health under the turret. The teleport going to be used from Looper just to help out, but he cancels it, and Insect just walks straight back in. There's the heal to come out as well. Equilibrium strike, the flash back under the tower. The Drain trying to tank that one up, but Candy, I think he's going to survive.
I think he's going to survive, and he nearly even got a return kill onto Insect. He will have to sack the next minion wave unless Dreams can get down there quick, smart, but very well played overall from Candy, being able to live through that one.
Yeah, Dreams is going to be able to make it here. He actually Sonic waved to the Wolf Camp in order to close that distance faster, and Candy's still going to be able to get that cannon creep as well. So, my goodness, both of these teams making very aggressive moves across the map.
Yeah, certainly an early game, however, in the favor of Royal Club, because they got to keep a couple of extra summoner spells, most notably that teleport that was blown by Looper for absolutely no effect. So, look for them to maybe try and get a gank in towards the lane where they can get Cola in there on his Aurelia.
Yeah, and sort of now the CC duo lane of Looper and Love CD here on the top side of the map. Not a whole lot of damage, necessarily. But, of course, are going to be able to lock people down for a long time. Going to be difficult to affect any ganks up there, as Zero and, well, are just going to be hanging out. Insect smiting away the Grompier as well, and he's going to be fine. Of course, down a little bit in that farm. Of course, as soon as Fiddlesticks leaves the jungle, he does fall behind relatively quickly. Not a lot of AoE clear up there in the jungle.
Yeah, certainly doesn't. Does have to choose between whether he wants to max out that Fear or the Drain on whether he's prioritizing ganking or farming to really get through. And it looks like this time he's grabbed a second point into the Drain. Sometimes you grab up to 3 before you decide to max the Fear. Really is personal preference.
Yeah, but he is going to stay very healthy in this jungle, and that's something that we can talk about. Cola and Candy now going at one another. Korn has hit level 6 before Dade here as well, and this Kassadin has had a fine time in this lane.
Yeah, he certainly has. He's getting further and further ahead, actually, and that's really testament to how well Korn has started to play this. And Dade, just getting chunked out, is falling a little bit further and further behind every time.
Yeah, and Korn just looking so tanky here as well. On this Kassadin now has the Ruby Crystal, the makings of that Catalyst, wanting to build up towards that Rod of Ages as quickly as possible. Dreams looking to try and do something here in the mid lane, but that Rift Walk very, very potent. It's not quite 5.4 just yet, so still going to be going quite far with that champion.
Yeah, still able to close a lot of distance, as we see Cola actually farming relatively well with that Duran shield in the bottom lane and the Flask, able to sustain through a lot of the harass coming out of Candy, who only went back and was able to pick up boots and a dagger, so he's not going to be getting done as much early game pressure as he wants. But an early dragon may be attempted out of Dreams here. This is what we're used to seeing maybe out of the Fiddlesticks, not the Lee Sin.
Yeah, and actually it is going to be Korn coming towards this river. Dreams pulls out the dragon just so that it can stay away from any shenanigans coming through from the backside. Dade's here as well. Sand Soldier's doing a fair bit of work here to this dragon. Dreams going down low, but they'll get it. Yeah,
they certainly will, and they got it because they recognized that blue was up at the same time. That was being secured, so able to rotate and grab a dragon for themselves at the first timing of the blue. Very well played out of M3.
Yeah, and beautiful warding here as well. Look at how deep the vision is on the side of M3 in towards that red side jungle. Just knew that there was nothing to come from it. And Royal Club, they do have a lead in that gold. Of course, no First Bloods are going to go down just yet.
Insect going full solo queue has just picked up a blue buff for himself over his Kassadin, putting a lot of onus on himself to be able to get around the map, farm up, and carry with the Fiddlesticks this time around. Very aggressive play. If he can't affect a good gank with this Crowstorm, might not be worth it.
Yeah, he really wants to just get to that level 6 as soon as possible. He has made it. He's got mobility boots here as well. And there's no Dade in that lane, Insect. You're not going to be able to find anything here.
And he's scouted out by a ward as well on his way through, so he'll clear that one. In the bottom lane, Fake's Call used. Cola in some trouble.
Yeah, Cola in a lot of trouble here. The hook lands here as well as he jumps right past. Candy does still have that E available, but Cola not going to die this time. That looked very close, though.
3 members strong heading into the bottom lane, trying to catch up. They might be able to jump away from this one. Need to be careful. Oh,
Candy gets caught. The death sentence to come through. But you can't get hit by that Zenith Blade.
You certainly can't. That was a very nice max range Zenith Blade coming through. And they might even be able to pressure the blue buff off this. So Insect coming in has that Crow Storm available.
Yeah, there's the silences to come through as well. Dreams goes down so low. Gets stunned up. The safeguard might save him here. As, oh my goodness, even through the shield, the ignite was enough. And Korn gets a blue buff. It was all planned here for Royal Club.
Yeah, and even better, they know that there is a pink ward in that brush, so they can wait for whoever comes back to the bottom lane and use the first Crow Storm to pressure even harder here. Nice map movement coming out of Starhorn Royal Club. Good early game aggression.
This is so hard to watch as Candy walks towards that brush. They didn't have too much forward vision, but there's the Crow Storm. Candy immediately gets feared, and rightly so as well, as the first Crow Storm gets a kill.
Yeah, so very nice play coming out of Insect there. 2 assists, and he made good use of the blue buff in the end, so got to compliment him for picking that one up. And all of a sudden, 10 minutes in, a 3,000 gold lead nearly on the side of Starhorn Royal Club.
Yeah, they are looking fantastic this game, and we've spoken about transformations of these teams from the LPL, and my goodness, it's happening yet again.
Yeah, so a very strange week coming through here. Insect picking up his red. Dreams now really needs to affect the map. He's had absolutely no pressure, and there's a lot of CC in this lane, but Zero sprinting up there.
Yeah, well in a bit of trouble. He gets Chilling Smited there as well. Sonic Wave Resonating Strike to come through as well as the heal comes down. Well, trying to escape, and he will make it out. 350 health is going to be enough here, and they know that a lot of the engage tools have been used.
Yeah, so once again, able to avoid that one, and very good presence of mind to be able to run away, run back into his lane, as LoveCD has caught Collar again.
Or is it the other way around? Is Candy just going to dance around this one? Fate's call to come through, but doesn't get the knock up. Candy does take that Lantern here as well, but LoveCD is going to have to be careful. Candy gets the kill, and those rake stacks are difficult to track, but not for Candy.
Yeah, so Ren coming up absolutely massive in that exchange, and very nice pickup there because it was a 0-2 Candy, now finally able to get a kill on the board, and he was getting picked on, but Looper is dead in the top lane.
Yep, he is most definitely dead, and that's going to be the power of level 6 hit by the Royal Club bottom laners. Just trying to get some sunlight procs onto these creeps, and it's just so dangerous. Box actually going to be used. Insect taking a lot of damage down here as the teleport from Cola is going to come in. It's going to mean M3 do have to back away, but Insect very close to losing his life.
Yeah, it certainly looked to be the case there as well. Once again, no summoners spells used from the M3 bottom lane. They do like to hold on to those ones. Insect would have nearly been in kill range if that ignite had gone down, so maybe look for them to get a little bit more aggressive, but a nice CS advantage across the ADs in favor for Well, 94 to 67. He is definitely having a much better time in his 2v1 than what Candy is against the very tanky Aurelia at this point.
Yeah, it has only sort of eventuated in about a 350 gold advantage, but you're right. I mean, that's basically a longsword that he's in the lead.
Yeah, and I guess it's a lot to do with the build path. That Ninja Tab.
That was coming out of a definitely unwarded brush. There is no vision here. That reaction speed from Dade was incredible.
Yeah, pretty impressive, and Looper once again.
Oh, speaking of impressive, Looper is going to be able to escape from that one, and that's just all too easy here for Royal Club. They didn't use anything, really. It's just like a Zenith Blade.
Yeah, exactly right, and Looper is just continuing to getting picked on. I think that the big item difference here that is allowing Cola to survive his lane much easier than Looper is a Ninja Tab pickup, because Candy relies on all those auto attack harass to get so much of his damage down, whereas in the top lane, they're up against a Warden's Mail, which is a lot of armor, but it's all about the buckshot and burst damage off the Sunlight passive, which just does so much mixed damage that it's much more difficult for Looper to be able to itemize against it.
Yeah, Looper does have a lot of health here, though, so he is going to be relatively okay. Is Cola going to take away these Krugs as well? Candy unharassed here on the bottom side, but 30 CS down. M3 going to be going for their second dragon here as well. The team are back once more. Their vision not quite as strong, but Insect, he's nowhere to be found as Looper. He gets solar flared and destroyed yet again.
Yeah, and once again, all those passives coming through from the sunlight, able to get so much magic damage, not to mention the burst that already comes out of a Graves that close in your face, and they pick up another kill, and Leona, so good at dives, has everything in the kit that you want. 3 forms of CC, the ability to tank up the turret for as long as possible, and that results in the first turret of the game going over to Starhorn.
Yeah, not to mention more damage available for the person trying to actually kill that person under the turret. So really able to get that one done. And they pick up the tower, but they're losing the dragons here across the map.
Going for round 2 against Dade.
Yep, Crowstorm is about to come back up here as well. Dade wants none of it. He's heading towards his blue buff. Is spotted by a ward here as well. As the soldiers attack command going to be able to take that one down. And very patient is Insect.
Dade is hugging that side of the river so hard. Now going a little bit more towards the middle, and he needs to be careful. Corn's about to flank.
Oh, there's the fear to come down, and Dade, nothing he could do. Surprise.
Yeah, so Fiddlesticks once again able to impact the map, and 0-0-3. Insect having a great game with this pickup. Got his Magus enchantment. They're looking to pressure another turret, and Dreams needs to be careful here because Insect, with that cooldown reduction coming through and all of that AFP, is surprisingly tanky under the turret just because of the drain.
Yeah, and that's an incredible item here for Fiddlesticks as well. One of the best sort of mage junglers, and it's so stat effective.
Candy's 6th Sense there has just saved his life. A very good brush set up from Zero and well, but able to get a nice ward over the wall to spot that one out.
And finally, Love City and Candy are going to be able to work together here in this lane, utilizing that Sentinel passive in order to get some work done. We'll see whether this is going to go as in favor of well as it has been throughout the game. And you have to think there's not too much stopping him from just continuing the onslaught of this Graves Leona power.
Yeah, there certainly isn't. Dreams looking for a little bit of a flank here. Will be met up by Insect. Insect's ult not available, but that double ultimate duo out of well is certainly there. And oh!
Solar flare onto Dreams. He gets caught up, just CC'd for days, but he is going to be okay as the... Oh my gosh, Insect just gets destroyed. Looper coming down. He's about to evolve. The death sentence onto Cola here as well as these Ren stacks are coming forward. Looper does find Cola here as there are 4 versus 3 at this stage. Finally, Korn's going to come in. That's going to spell the disengage from M3. As he sort of upsettedly uses that scrying orb in order to find out what's going on. I mean, the sweeping lens, of course.
Yeah, and we see Korn heading back to the mid lane off that Dade, looking to sweep out a pink ward. Needs to be careful. He's very far behind at the moment, 25 CS, but that is an absolutely massive Kassadin. Level 11 with a needlessly large rod and roller stacking up at this point in the game. Only 17 minutes. Kassadin is going to be so heavily accelerated, and he might even go 1v1.
Yeah, Cola just getting a reset on his Blade Surge to pick up that kill.
Yeah, so very nice work there. 3-1-0 now for the Aurelia player. He will be very close to a Trinity Force at the moment. Got 1,000 gold. Will pick up a little bit more from this turret. Happy to tank it up. And overall, Royal Club look much more coordinated today. This is what we were used to seeing from the Royal Club that was at the World Championship. Very good gank presence coming out of Insect in the jungle. And then very together play once again. Cola and Korn teaming up, going for another gank.
Yeah, and these are 2 members that are very strong. Looper has been picked on all game. He's got a Randuin's, but Korn just follows him around. Both of them get gnarred into the wall, and Looper continues just wandering away. There's the wallop. It's like we're watching a time stop here as Looper gets Equilibrium Strike, takes the lantern, and he survives. Beautiful work.
Yeah, very nicely done there to not give his life up for nothing, and really used every single inch of his kit there to get himself out. So well played by Looper. He's having a better game, but Dade's really struggling in this mid lane.
Yeah, and he sort of picked this Azir knowing that he'd be going against a Kassadin and sort of unable to really make anything of it. The likes of an Ahri was available. He didn't decide to try his hand at it, but of course Dade, not known as an Ahri player.
Yeah, definitely not known much as an Ahri player. Kassadin isn't even that bad in the matchup as well, so definitely understand why he went for something like an Azir. Just hasn't been able to, I guess, make it work, especially in the early game when he was shoving in. Just missed too much early CS.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate here. Does have the Athenes on Holy Grail thus far. Of course, a lot of the Azirs that we've been watching throughout the LPL have decided to go with that Morellonomicon into the Stinger in order to get themselves that attack speed, the extra cooldown reduction as well. Just fantastic as far as scaling with this Azir.
Dade, 2,000 gold behind.
2,000. That is ridiculous.
So of the 5,000 gold lead that's currently held by Starhorn Royal Club, 2,000 of that is in the mid lane, roughly about 1,700 gold as we see there. And that's just absolutely huge at 19 minutes in the game. As you can see through the item discrepancy coming through, that's nearly a finished Zhonya's Hourglass for Korn, or even more scary if they're looking to snowball this game. In second, Korn can maybe even pick up a death cap here, and that would be just an absolute horrible story.
Oh, yeah. Royal Club are still respecting the bottom lane of M3 here, not looking to go too aggressive. Of course, Dreams always waiting in the wings. And Dragon now up again. And I don't know whether M3 are going to get away with a third in a row.
Yeah, it definitely looks like they're going to try, but the ultimate is available. Here it comes.
Yep, Dragon going down very low. Insect comes in. Dreams does get the Dragon, tries to run away, but the jungler does fall. Of course, now it's just the disengage here for M3. They secure the Dragon, and that's the big deal. And random golden boy hanging out in the river.
Yeah, Dragon number 3 is picked up by Master3, but not really much else to celebrate off that. They might even lose another turret here in the bottom lane, although Candy, with that Hurricane, very good at being able to clear them out.
Yeah, has a lot of wave clear, of course. They've got a big wave to deal with towards the top side of the map here, as well as Dade waiting in the wings. Does have that Emperor's Divide available as well if they try and get something started. Korn coming around at the same time. Things looking very scary. The tower does fall down. There's the Emperor's Divide to get everyone out. But Dade, oh, he takes the lantern. That bird soared through the sky and then transferred its love to everyone. But everyone going to survive.
Yeah, so everyone's going to survive. Lupa just going for a stroll. He wants absolutely nothing to do with the team fights at this point. Heads back into the top lane. Just wants to pick up some CS and get much tankier as well. In the bottom lane, Cola got caught out.
Yeah, Cola in so much trouble. Just gets thrown around. He took down every edge of that box before he died.
Yeah, and that was a very weird choice from Cola. He chose to back in a brush that had obviously been watered because the whole Master3 team had just been dove at that turret. They had to have known that something was coming and got some vision for themselves.
Well, maybe a slight lapse of judgment here from Cola. Of course, still having a great game. He's only behind a few CS, but of course, able to get around this map. Korn waiting around. Oh my goodness. Speaking of backing in the wrong places, Zero is here. Candy actually looking to go further forward. Zero's coming around. There's the Solar Flare. Jumps out of it. Takes the Lantern. There's the Force Pulse as well. Oh my gosh, the Flash just afterwards. Love City, he might fall down here. He doesn't have his Flash available just yet. And they have to take the consolation support.
Yeah, so they take the support player, but that would have definitely been a double kill if Love CD hadn't have used his Flash, hadn't have got in his face and chosen to go that way. In the end, very good play once again out of Starhorn Royal Club. These gank brushes certainly are working wonders for them, but it will be responded by a turret in the top lane.
Yeah, Lupa able to put some pressure on there, and now, oh my goodness, M3 need to reach back into their sort of lol books and pick up this sort of sixth sense that you need to have with a Fiddlesticks on your team, because of course there's the Crow Storm and Korn comes in and just destroys Dade. It's a decent wallop onto a couple of members. Royal Club still unable to tank up this turret too effectively as Candy comes round. It's a 1-for-0 thus far, but that could have been a lot worse for M3.
Yeah, it certainly could, but it's continual. They're continuing to get these little bits of turret dies, the ganks, and all of a sudden, 4-0-1 for Cassidy, 3-0-0 for Graves. They're just getting to points in the game where they are so strong, and if this continues in a similar trend, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse for M3.
Yeah, it's looking quite difficult. Of course, no sort of hard tank. I mean, I guess they've got Kohler on Aurelia here, but not quite the likes of a Maokai, you have to say. So maybe Candy can dance around these fights a little bit, but the fear coming through from Insect is just so hard for a Kalista to deal with.
Yeah, it certainly is. And, of course, we've seen how much trouble Dade's having dealing with it as well. Probably needs to pick up a QSS relatively soon, but is instead electing to go for that Zhonya's Hourglass. Really needs to pick up some damage because we keep going back to it. He's still 2,000 gold behind, and the gold difference between him and Korn is the difference between that finished Zhonya's Hourglass and another blasting rod on top of it.
That's ridiculous. It's just crazy. And, of course, having this on a Kassadin as well, who's just such a hyper carry towards the end of this mid-game, which is what we're approaching here at 25 minutes into the game. Kassadin just really starting to have his way with this whole map.
Yeah, he certainly is. And good vision control over the top side of the map has meant that Royal Club have been able to start up the Baron. Insect can tank it for a long time, but it's still very dangerous.
Oh, Solarflare actually going to not find anyone here as the Zenith Blade's going to get Dreams, and they'll get the Constellation Jungler. They do have a ward here in this brush, but it's going to be cleared immediately as M3 going to struggle to put any pressure on this Baron taken. I have a feeling that Royal Club, they're just going to keep waiting.
Yeah, they're just going to bluff the fact that they don't think they're going to do it, but they've started it up now, so Candy needs to be careful. He doesn't spend too much time there.
Lovecity going to use the box to try and do some disengage work here as well. Looper jumps into the Baron pit for some reason. He is furious. There's the triple Nara into the wall. Dade, does he have the Emperor's Divide available? It is there. He is going to be able to take down Cola. Baron is definitely an MVP in this fight as the Fates Call is going to get Lovesy out of here. Well's going to fall down. How is this happening for M3 as Korn trying to do some work, gets a double kill now as Dade falls down, but Candy is going to kill him. And Insect, he's completely out of mana. Just going to smite the Scuttle Crab. Got a little bit back from that one, and he's going to be A-okay. But that is 4 members of Royal Club dead, and that Hurricane is a problem for taking out that ward.
Yeah, it certainly is. It didn't do many favors for Candy there. Instead, they choose to try and push middle lane. But finally, M3 get a winning team fight, and it was off the back of a really heads-up play by Looper. Jumping into that pit meant that he wasn't tanking anything, and he got a very good Gnar on 3 members. Really allowed Dade to come in over the back, and they played that extremely well. Also, big credit to LoveCD, who kept the Kassadin CC'd for such a long time, but he's nearly got a Rabadon's death cap now already at 26 minutes. That's going to be a 3-item Kassadin pre-30-minute mark, and that's terrifying. Let's take another look at this one. So, LoveCD gets a lot of CC, actually goes over the wall, and Looper just goes into the pit. You can see right here that his mission was to just get as many people into the wall as possible, and that was a very good Emperor's Divide, trapping them all there for Candy to come get a very good cleanup, and looks like Dragon has been started over the other side.
Oh, Dreams actually looking to possibly go through on this, but not going to be able to pick it up. No 5th Dragon going to be available here, or 4th here for M3 as the fight is on. Actually, Azir doing a whole lot of damage here in the backside. Dade, you're going to use the Zhonya's Hourglass to keep himself alive. Candy still alive here, but not for long as Korn manages to get that kill. M3 doing some work in this fight, though. Dade finally falling down. Dreams looking to try and get some work done onto Korn. 1 more auto attack. No, 2 more. That's the Sonic Wave, and Cola now the focus. The tanky members of M3 just able to do so much work in that fight.
And that's an ace for M3 from behind, able to pick that one up. And Dade was just getting so many free autos from the back. The tank survived for Master3, and even though they've got this really, really fed Kassadin, still not able to get enough work done. Candy, too much persistent damage. Dade, too much persistent damage. They really need to take care of these threats much earlier.
Yeah, and of course, Korn has the tools to do it. I don't know how he didn't just destroy Dade, but the use of that Zhonya's at exactly the right time, as soon as he was drawing that aggro, was beautiful.
Yeah, and Dreams now being spotted out by Zero here. As Zero gives him a little bit of a dance move.
Ooh, bit cute from Zero. Doing some fancy maneuvers. Of course, able to just put another ward there. The Sightstone, pretty handy for that one. Does have the Ruby version, so going to be able to throw a few extra wards around this map. Multiple pink wards now available for Royal Club. They are looking for this Baron, but the gold is completely even.
Yeah, once again, the game brought back to a complete standstill, and it's back to execution. Dade, he's caught up a fair amount, equal on CS. He's still about 1,700 gold behind, but as he's got those 2 items becoming less relevant, full Rabadon's death cap behind, but he's got those boots too, isn't being able to be CC'd up by Insect a lot. I love the Merc Tread pickup. Surprised we're not seeing a couple more actually out of the M3 lineup just because of how annoying the CC coming out of Insect and the Equilibrium strike from Cola is in these fights. But Quicksilver Sash now finished up by Candy. He's going to be much happier in these team fights. We see the Banshee's Veil finished up on a couple of key members as well in Dreams and Looper. They have the tools to start wrestling control back.
See whether they manage to, because of course M3 now with a lot of vision towards this bottom side of the map, but not necessarily around the Baron. Dream's going to be able to get rid of a few wards from Royal Club, but they're just a little bit too frightened to enter that river, because of course that's where all the pinks are. So you have nice use of that Dark Passage in order to get Dreams in and out as he scouts out the area just a little bit. They get a few wards extended throughout this river, but you're right. I mean, M3, they've got to make a move. But so does Royal Club, and we'll see who's going to be the one that makes it happen, because, of course, a Fiddlestick's not quite as strong if he gets engaged on.
Yeah, exactly right. Fiddle really needs to be the one that makes the fights happen, and he's still relatively quickly. He's picked up that Banshee's Veil, but still needs a couple of items to get going.
Do you think that the Zhonya's would have been a better first buy here for Fiddlestick?
Zhonya's isn't a bad first buy, but he wants to be able to move around and get continual fears off and reposition himself. I think that Insect's not really looking to make himself the main threat in this lineup, not with a very fed Cassidon. He just wants to be able to get the nice persistent damage across everyone and then tie up Candy with that fear.
Yeah, and we'll see whether that QSS is going to be used on the Fear, on the Solar Flare, on the Shield of Daybreak, on all of the options that Royal Club have for CCing up this Kalista. And if Candy manages to stay safe in these fights, we did see before that they're able to get a lot of work done. And M3, they understand that this game is just so close.
Yeah, they certainly do. And ooh,
it's a worry.
The game absolutely completely equal. 3 turrets to 3 turrets. Ignore the 5 up the top. That's 2 Sun turrets.
Yep.
About 1,000 gold, not even that, 700 gold separating these two teams. And the difference in the teams, if you take a look, a lot more gold over onto the Kalista, 1,000 gold, and then more gold onto the Cassidon. So once again, it's the AD versus the mid laner. Who can be more effective? Can Candy get that much persistent damage down that he's going to be able to win the team fight, or is it going to be the burst out of Cassidon? And what a fun head-to-head to watch, because it really is Korn and all the CC trying to deal with this Kalista versus Kalista trying to live long enough. All the peel coming out of the Thresh, out of the Emperor's Divide, out of the Lee Sin Kick. The teams really are built to try and cope with what the other's bringing to the table.
I just really want to see the Gnar into the Emperor's Divide, bouncing everyone around the fight. Whether that comes through ever. Because, of course, Dade can actually make things out of nothing here for Looper to be a massive force in this fight.
Yeah, it certainly can, and I think that the fight that we saw them do really well is...
Oh, actually, Dream's going to get caught out here. That Banshee's Veil playing dividends, does have the Dark Passage, but my gosh, that fear lasts for so long. He is going to be okay, as Royal Club are going to be picking their battles. Of course, if that was on a more squishy member, they would have just blown them up, but Dream's tanky enough to deal with it.
Yeah, certainly is. And very good, I guess, catch potential coming out of the lineup here, but not willing to pull the trigger. Patient play coming through from both sides. And really, they go back to the exact same thing once again, trying to get it done. Stinger now picked up. Love CD.
Oh my goodness, those mobility boots saving Love CD's life as he's able to get in range for that Dark Passage and stymies the efforts of Royal Club.
And Dragon is now back up, so will they change their focus towards the other side of the map? It certainly looks like that is Master3's plan, but that might give Starhorn the chance to, I guess, really accelerate towards the Baron. They've started to ping it very quickly.
Yeah, they've got a lot of damage here to M3. Dade just ripping through this objective. Candy comes around, easily secured. The Baron now at half health. It is getting decimated, as now down to only 3,000. Yep, that's a Baron in exchange for a Dragon here in favor of Royal Club. Brilliant decision making.
It certainly is, but that's the 4th Dragon for Master3.
True.
So they're now 1 Dragon away, and they're just gambling on the fact that they won't lose an inhibitor turret for it. So if they lose a couple of outers, I'm sure that they'll be more than content to try and get a grouping around the next Dragon fight, because we've seen in the past how much work that 5th Dragon does do, especially if you secure it halfway through the team fight, because there's no chance for the other team to disengage.
Yeah, Insec actually gets his Banshee's Veil popped there as well. That is a big deal because being able to kick that guy out of his drain is very, very important. Candy actually going for double defensive items. He's got that Spectre's Cowl now as well as the QSS. Dade has to be careful moving up this far as the Solar Flare comes through. Dade immediately turns gold. The Emperor's divided into the turret here as well. Zero going down incredibly low. Candy free hitting from the backside as Zero gets taken out first. Corn still alive, still able to do a lot of work, but Insect's dead. And that is a 2-for-1 already in favor of M3. Way actually, wow, a lot of damage back onto Candy as he keeps dancing around the fight. Cola now so incredibly low. Corn, he's getting in there. Candy, though, still kiting as well. Gets caught by the wallop. And Dreams is going to die, but is well as well. Oh my gosh, Korn now tries to make it for himself. He has done so much work in this fight, but Looper with the Hyper secures the ace. And these team fights are so close.
Yeah, and wow, what a response out of Dade. The perfect Zhonya's into a great Emperor's Divide. Got the knock up and shield as well from that traveling. And this team fights are just so back and forward. Everyone getting what they needed. Dade, the hero, has probably one of the worst scorelines. But let's take a look how quick the reaction speed is out. Baits out 2 ultimates and then gets a 2-person Emperor's Divide. And that was just so much CC they had to deal with. And that turret did so much work. In the end, Looper nared 1 person, which maybe he could have held for a little bit longer, because in the end it does get a little bit hairy here. They just have to deal with so many tanky members. Everyone trying to jump onto Candy. Candy goes extremely hard to get the reset on the Ren there. But Looper, so much persistent damage. This Gnar has just been such a good pickup over a couple of games. And Korn versus Looper. Looper was able to win out just in the end.
Yeah, that Hyper, he actually made it back to mini Gnar form at exactly the right time, when he needed that form in order to be annoying, in order to poke through and manage to get those Hyper procs with a little bit of extra damage. You can see actually Looper, he's picked up that Trinity Force yet again, and now has that one in his back pocket. And I'm actually not sure what he's going for afterwards. Is that going to be Thornmail and Warmog's armor?
Yeah, potentially, or maybe even just going for some immediate damage in that Sunfire Cape. Wouldn't really be impressed by the pickup, but is, I guess, at the point of the game where he's proved already that he was tanky enough so he can start becoming a damage threat. Looks like they are maybe trying to set up a little bit of a gank here, but I don't know how successful Insec and the support player will be in Zero, so deciding to retreat away.
Yeah, I don't think even that 2v1, I wouldn't take that. If I did, I'd probably bring a packed lunch, because it would take a long time.
So we see once again both teams just trying to posture around objectives. All Baron buffs are gone, of course, because that was an ace out of Master3. And Looper, he's pretty quick, and he's at the point of the game we saw he was so hard to kill last time around. This Trinity Force adds so much surprising damage to the Gnar as well. He all of a sudden has a 70 CS advantage and is 636. About 1,300 gold over Cola, who was having a terrific early end.
You got to remember the fact that Looper got dived twice in the laning phase. 0, 2, and 0. Struggled so incredibly hard, and now has forged out this lead from nowhere.
Yeah, he's been playing extremely well. Had to go up against that really bully lane, but that allowed Candy, of course, to get through a pretty rough early game himself. And he's nearly 6 items there. Only has to transform that QSS into a Mercurial Scimitar. Has gone for 3 damage items, however, versus the 4 that Well's bringing to these fights. So he's packing a little bit more of a punch from that shotgun.
Yeah, of course, the Banshee's Veil actually going to help because, of course, Candy just does a whole lot more consistent damage in these fights, and he needs to stay alive a whole lot more than Well does because, well, he'll just die. And when you've got the likes of Korn, who are jumping into the face of Candy. I mean, Candy can't afford to have no magic resist against that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Candy is the one that has to be persistent in his threat there. As we see, the Righteous Glory actually picked up from Zero as well, so a lot of engage coming out of the support.
Double super speed come through from Zero. He can be very, very fast.
Yeah, he certainly can. And the thing about Graves is that people underestimate how much of a steroid quick draw really is at this point in the game, but 5th Dragon, we mentioned it, 30 seconds away. M3 in much better position at the moment, even pushing in that top lane. Both teleports are available, and Starhorn need to be careful. They need to get a favorable fight, because if they give this one up, That's a lot of raw stats over there.
Yeah, and Royal Club actually deciding to make this into some form of a base race as both of the side waves are now pushing. You can see it was actually Cola who managed to get that top wave pushing in the other way, but has now decided to come through for this next fight. And this may actually decide the game here as well, because that dragon now available, 5th dragon on the board for M3. The 12% stats, the massive burn to come through with every auto attack. Insect, oh, that is actually a big deal, popping that Banshee's Veil. Yeah,
so potions are available on the bottom lane out of Starhorn Royal Club. We can see that they're posturing 5 versus 5. Looper just went to base. He has picked up the Thornmail. You feel that that is a huge pickup for this fight. And he's starting to get a little bit of a flank. He's behind them. If he can get his Narbar up and come in from the backside, force them into Dade, might be able to get some work done here.
Yeah, and Dade just looking to try and poke out here as well as the Scuttle Crab going to walk into the side of Royal Club. M3 are going to have to contend with having complete vision available for Royal Club. No matter what they do, they'll never be able to hold on to this one. Candy, if they go for a smite off here, this Callista going to be able to do so much damage. There's the box as well. The Solar Blader comes through. The 5th dragon comes down, but there's the Crow Storm as well. The Emperor's Divide, but my God, M3 are just destroying Starhorn Royal Club. Candy does fall down though, so that's a lot of the damage off the board. Dade still alive though, and Cola finds himself the only man alive in this fight.
Yeah, Dade had a much better team fight that time around. Got a great Emperor's Divide, but it was all about Looper's flank, having that huge Gnar that just does so much persistent damage with this Trinity Force, now with the 5th dragon as well. And that might even be the game. M3 pushing through. Lots of turret damage out of his ear.
Yeah, and heaps of damage as well, just based on the fact that they have 5 dragons at the same time. These burning members, 4 strong of M3. 2 seconds on Zero, 8 seconds on Insect. They may have a chance to fight this one off, but it looks like M3 more than happy to tank this one up. Zero just trying to be a menace here, but goes on to Dade. Dade pretty squishy still, but you can see that Dark Passage giving him enough of a shield. The Solar Flare to come down onto this Azir, and Insect trying to help out, but it's going to be enough. The Nexus falls down, and M3, they even it up with Royal Club.
Yeah, and a much better performance towards that late game. Starhorn Royal Club really owned the early game, but then the M3 that we were used to seeing this weekend kicked in. Much better coordination. They looked a little bit lost for the first game and a half, but when they brought it together, it was beautiful to behold.
Yeah, and we were doubting Dade's performance in the laning phase, but his last 3 team fights almost managed to completely save M3, and you saw it was teetering on a knife edge who was going to come out on top.
Yeah, and it was their overcommitment for Dade in a couple of those fights that really sold it, because Candy just got so much free damage. No one could deal with Looper, that absolutely massive Gnar, and I think that is the most important champion on the M3 lineup. If Looper can get Gnar, he just looks so much more comfortable, and we've seen him look lost. Not in this series either game. He was a standout even in the loss.
Yeah, even when they were behind, it wasn't necessarily his fault. And in the last 2 games that we saw the day before, he was fantastic. But we've got a replay just to demonstrate how M3 managed to do this.
Yeah, so if we jump into the replay, this is the last dragon fight. M3 obviously posturing for a 5th dragon, and look how many spears go into this. So if we roll it out, just have a look how much Candy is pumping in. The rend is absolutely massive when it does come through from about 2,000 health. And from there, Looper and Dade on the back line just get so much work done. Dade once again timing his Zhonya's as well flashed in. And Korn, he does his job. He had a terrific game, 11-3-5, but just not enough support from the rest of his team. And when you're glowing and you've got those 5 dragons, boy, is it so much easier to win a team fight.
Oh, yeah, having that dragon go down. And I think that Royal Club should have almost just completely disengaged, because that was going to be so difficult for them to win after all of those extra stats came in. But congratulations to M3 managing to even this series out. But we still have one more match for you, ladies and gentlemen. After the break, Vici take on a newly formed